a group of black former Kamala Harris staffers say they were mistreated during the 2024 presidential campaign. Let's talk about it. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about a group of black former Kamala Harris staffers who say they were mistreated by leadership during the 2024 presidential campaign. Now, I am so shocked. Say it ain't so. Tell me, hey, Kamala, if you can hear my voice, if you can hear me clearly, tell me that this is not true. Tell me that you, a strong black woman, did not mistreat your staff, or that you did not allow people in your campaign to mistreat them. Tell me this was an inclusive place for people to be able to get things done without having to be discriminated against when we're talking about race and gender and whatnot. Tell me that you had a positive and non-toxic work environment. Now, I'm being sarcastic. We all know that Kamala is not black, but hey, the mainstream media told us she was black. Her campaign told us she was black. They hinged a lot of the whole thing on her being black, and that was not true. And then the idea was, okay, if you're a black person and you vote Kamala, you vote in your best interest. Well, how can that be so when people on their own campaign who were black got mistreated? Like, look, you can't handle money. We saw that. You can't handle your black staff. You can't talk. You can't really communicate effectively. You were overall just a poor candidate. Poor candidate, plain and simple. Now, we got articles and whatnot to get through. We got videos and everything. But look, Fox News headline, black Harris staffers say they were mistreated on the campaign, blame leadership for taking base for granted. The allegations only came to light now because staffers were reportedly advised against speaking out. Yeah, there was somebody in the campaign that said, hey, don't say nothing because it could hurt your chances of being able to go on to another campaign. If you got to understand, like that kind of that piece of advice may not stick for people that's my age that know better. But a lot of these staffers, Gen Z, early 20s, just getting out of college, first job. So they don't want to rock the boat. You see how they take advantage of them? And that's why they're alleging mistreatment. Now, here is the original article that the Fox News article comes from. Look at this. How alarmed Harris staffers went rogue to reach black and Latino voters. Worried that the campaign was neglecting voters of color in Philadelphia and other battleground cities, organizers secretly gathered at a Dunkin' Donuts and elsewhere to get out the vote. Secretly? You gotta have secret meetings? Like, really, hey, check it out. If you guys gotta go Underground Railroad with it, you gotta have these secret slave meetings. You scared to get caught by massa. If you got to do all that, take a step back and reevaluate what you're doing with yourself. It's like, okay, I thought I was in the party of inclusion. I thought that my voice would be valued. I thought that I could really bring something forward as a black person or so-called person of color. But yet here I am meeting secretly in a Dunkin' Donuts because the campaign does not want us to succeed. They don't really care about our vote. If they don't care about our vote, then why are we fighting to get it? It doesn't make any sense. But again, you're dealing with very young people that don't know any better. They don't know anything. Okay. And this is why Department of Education sucks, because you got kids that graduate with no knowledge at all. They can't read. They don't know about these kinds. They don't understand life situations. They don't have anything. So what's the point in having a Department of Education? For what? Just to get money? Like, I don't get it. Now, here's a throwback video. This is not from the campaign at all. This is from like maybe 2017, 2018. This is when she was in California becoming the attorney general and what was that? The senator. This is about her lavish spending habits back then, which could be the same thing happening 2024 and also in 2020 when she ran briefly. Check it out.
Last year, Harris was the target of reports by the National Journal and Orange County Register, which documented what they called her lavish spending from her campaign fund accounts on luxurious hotels, luxury car services, and first-class airfare. The Hill, an online government news site, quoted former aides as saying she treats the campaign fund like a personal checking account to fund a life of luxury. Should it raise questions in the public mind about, if you're a senator, how you would look at money spending, which is always an issue in Washington?
There were issues that we needed to address early in my campaign around correcting course, which we did, and I'm very
That word salad stuff, man, I don't know. I don't understand how she's gotten this far by not saying the word. She's not said anything since California. Literally. I mean, she says words, but the words have no meaning because it's just word salad.
Proud of the work we did in that regard.
So this was your campaign manager, I believe, who was replaced, right?
There was a lot of restructuring that we did, and it needed to be done.
Okay.
Yeah.
So problem solves?
I believe so, yes.
Last year.
Okay, so basically throwing the campaign manager under the bus, right? But you are getting the luxurious hotels and all the nice, accommodations. So if you're seeing that kind of thing going on, you know where you're going, you know where your staff is going. You don't want to raise alarm and say, hey, we're kind of spending too much money. This is not really appropriate ways of being able to handle finances. Now, look, nobody likes Kamala, okay? You could see the word salad back then during her California Senate days. You could see it. You could see that she was not spending money properly. And here we are. They spent, what, 1.5 billion at least, and a max of 2.5 billion. And they wound up being, what was that, 20 million in debt, 40 million in debt? How do you spend that much money, wind up in debt, and lose in an epic fashion? How does that happen? Because you just spending money lavishly. You don't really have any kind of control over your campaign. You let the vultures come in, take whatever they want, and go about their business. And you're lazy. Nobody likes you, not even your own president. And let's not forget, Kamala Harris is a vice president now, today, 2024, December. We don't have Trump yet. We got him in January. She's still the vice president. Now watch this video right here. You're going to see Joe and Jill come out, and the interaction speaks 1,000 words. Check it out.
Please welcome the President of the United States and First Lady, Jill Biden.
Now, I'm going to turn the volume down and just let it play so you can see the entire thing. You can see if they ever do any kind of interaction. There's nothing. So for you guys who are not watching the video, you have Kamala and Doug standing right there at the front of a balcony, like in a theater. And then here comes Joe Biden and Jill Biden. They literally is standing right beside them, but as they came out and went to their seats that are right beside them, they didn't acknowledge them. There wasn't a hello, a how are you, a handshake, a hug, nothing. Not even the kiss on the mouth that Doug Emhoff would love to give to his little girlfriend, Jill, as they've done before in front of everybody. But that's a different story, and I digress. The point is they didn't acknowledge them at all. They just walked right past like they weren't even really there. Now, this is the staffer who allegedly told the other staffers, hey, don't say nothing, don't speak out because it could help, it could ruin your chances of going somewhere else. This is what you would call an overseer, like a slave plantation overseer, just to make sure everybody's in line and nobody gets out of control. Check it out.
We had 107 days, and I know people don't like that time frame, that number, but to open up a Democratic primary, you would have had black women who were the strongest voting bloc for Kamala Harris be highly upset if it was not Kamala Harris. You would have had someone starting with zero infrastructure. I hear your concern, and I'm not saying that primaries are not important and open primaries are important. We had 107.
Now, what he's talking about is, well, maybe the question was, why wasn't there a primary to try and replace Kamala? They couldn't do that. He's right about that. They couldn't because they only had a little bit of time. So they couldn't just replace her because Joe had dropped out after winning the primary. He dropped out of the race. So line of succession, if he was to resign or pass away, would be that Kamala Harris takes over. Although that's not what happened. Specifically, he resigned. He just did not resign from the presidency, but dropped out of the race. Theoretically, you could have put somebody else in there, but who were you going to put in there? And if you skip over Kamala Harris, that'd be a slap in the face to the people that you pandered to by selecting Kamala to be the vice president in the first place. So you would defeat the entire purpose of her being there. But hey, that's their own fault for doing that. They put themselves in a bad situation. I don't feel sympathy. Now, here's Angela Rye. Angela Rye, man, that's an interesting. I'm sorry for the freeze frame, Angela, but it is what it is. She spoke to some of these staffers. Let's see what she's got to say.
There are black staff who are part of the organizing community, part of canvassing, challenge paid canvassers, challenge whether or not this was the right tactic, said they didn't have the resources. Jasmine, who was the state director in Florida, Andrew, I sent you her tweet, her Twitter thread earlier. She goes in about how much they had to rely on outside resources because they couldn't get any resources from the campaign because the campaign had pretty much given up on Florida. The sad part is, y'all, that is not a Florida unique story. It is the story of every battleground state director, and that has to be discussed. They spent so much time and effort in ensuring that these large, rich, white consultants would keep their share, could even potentially get bonuses off of a loss, but wouldn't get these folks the dollars they needed to get signs on the ground, to get folks on the ground knocking on doors. You guys, we went and knocked on doors. We couldn't figure out how to use the MGP van app. Right. We could not say if somebody wasn't home or not. We know that firsthand. But there are folks who did this every single day that can talk about what went wrong here. Y'all, like I said on the main episode, I was convinced this election had to have been stolen in some really remarkable, challenging way on data. It's not. We ignored the people at the bottom.
Okay, now, Angela Rye, if that's the concern, that y'all weren't getting money for canvassing and door knocking, it's because it doesn't work. See, I'm going to tell you what happened here. I'm going to tell you what the reality of the situation is. You got a lot of these black staffers or staffers of color, people that straight out of college, don't know anything. They were probably taught one way, maybe in college. Maybe they learned that in college. You guys, if you went to school for this kind of thing, let me know. Were you taught in college that door knocking is the way to go about it? Were you taught about canvassing and doing these events that don't work? Is that what you were taught? Because obviously what you guys were doing was not going to be effective. You spent all that money and still lost. You saying you didn't have enough resources, but where did all the money go? And even if you got more money to accomplish your goal, was it really going to make a difference? You're worried about people not being able to do certain things because they didn't have the money because ultimately you want more money. But spending money is part of the problem because you're not spending money appropriately. If the correct thing was done as far as running the campaign, most of the staffers wouldn't have been there. Because what are y'all doing? Just wasting money and time? You're not going to get the resources to get certain things like that accomplished because you're not going to be able to succeed that way. They were correct to give up on Florida. How are you going to win Florida when the biggest city, Miami, is a red kingdom? How are you going to win Florida? Florida is where all the conservatives have fled a lot of times from the liberal places. How are you going to get Florida? It's like me trying to go into the middle of the most white liberal place in New York City and trying to make everybody be a Trump supporter. It's not going to work. It's not going to happen. So why would I spend resources there? You got to focus on the battleground states, the swing states, trying to be able to get some of the independence. You can't be trying to go into deep red places, middle of Texas and say, I'm a Democrat, everybody vote for me. And it doesn't matter how much money you throw at it. It's never going to be that way. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your thoughts about black staffers having secret slave meetings, basically, to try and help the Democratic Party succeed when the reason they're having those secret slave meetings is because of the Democratic Party itself not giving them what they think they should have to help them win? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. Hey, to any black staffer hearing the sound of my voice, if you were on the Kamala team and you didn't like what went on, I want you to watch this video seriously, without having malicious intent, without being biased, without wanting to hate me. Listen to the video seriously and ask yourself, is what I'm saying making more sense than what the executives told you, than what Kamala's people told you? Is what I'm saying making sense? Just ask yourself that question. And once you answer that question honestly, I think that you might not want to be on that side anymore. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.